the public health officials, or this Chicago Department of Public Health, said that the people who attended this concert could have been bitten by these bats and not even known it because their teeth are so small. And so what they are advising, they're advising those who may have come in contact with the bats to go and get like some sort of antibody or serum or something that they will need in case they have contracted rabies from, is it contracted? Yeah.
Yeah.
Contracted.
It all in how when you put
the emphasis.
The emphasis.
The emphasis matters. They may have contracted.
Yes.
Yikes. That's why this show is late, guys. There's a lot going on. Thanks for checking out Culture Proof. I'm Miki.
And I'm Will.
And this podcast is a day late, but it is not $1 short. Usually we do a Friday news haul. So this will just be sort of like your weekend news haul. We do have a lot of stories that we should have gotten to on Friday, but it's Saturday. And so at least it's Saturday when we're recording. You may listen to this on a Sunday. And if that's true, then I apologize to you. Okay. Because these are definitely weekend stories, not week starter stories. Before we get into the news haul, looking at what's going on in the world, maybe with a little bit of humor attached to it, which, well, we'll talk a little bit about that. We want to say thank you to BJU Press Homeschool, the premier sponsor of the Culture Proof podcast. We couldn't do what we do without their support, not only in the podcasting area, but also as they come alongside us to help us disciple and train our kids to live in this world. We trust them as we have made it our aim to fold biblical worldview training into every aspect of what we do with our kids. We call that discipleship. We know that you can trust them too. Check them out today. Our friends over at bjupresshomeschool.com. That's bjupresshomeschool.com, the premier sponsors of the Culture Proof podcast. Let them know that the Addisons sent you. No peace signs today, just a thumbs up. Okay, very good. Keep people guessing.
That's right.
So before we get into some of these news stories here that range from like the frightening to the bizarre, then kind of back to the frightening, let's talk a little bit about the weather. Just, this has been something that's been so heavy on my heart. I'm looking at the storm, Hurricane Helene, and then looking at Hurricane Milton, and back to back with the same type of intensity where you've got the loss of life. And I'm just, I'm thinking about just the devastation that's been caused and not wanting to detach that from the spiritual implications that may be present. So I don't, I don't want it to seem like we are unaware of that, as we've been talking about it kind of in-house, if you will. But I believe that the Lord is allowing things to grab our attention in our country. And honestly, I think those things point to a reality that we are unwilling to deal with. And that is that spiritually speaking, we're not okay.
Yeah, I think we tend to look at things like weather, especially weather, and say, well, that's just a natural occurrence. Things are naturally happening. But from my standpoint, God is in control of all of that. And you see in the scriptures, you see throughout the Bible that he would even use the weather and things like that to make a statement to punish or to say, hey, I'm in control of this. Who can do this but me? He holds back rain. He gives rain. Things happen because of God's control. He's in control. And so I think as believers, we should not be so quick to look at the answers that the world will give us.
Yeah. Like climate change, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. We should look to the straight edge of scripture and say, okay, what does God say about this? Because he has something to say about the weather.
It's interesting because I think what we don't recognize is that like even among pagans, God has put the knowledge of himself in our heart and our mind so that we are without excuse. The Bible teaches us this in Romans 1. But as we're talking about the weather patterns and just having this understanding that God is in control of the weather, I'm thinking about Jonah, and I'm thinking about him fleeing, going in the opposite direction, going away from Nineveh, going toward Tarshish, and this great tempest that comes upon the ship that he's sailing in. And it's amazing that you've got all of these pagan men on board who they immediately know that this is an act. Now, I'm going to say this is an act of God.
Mhm.
They believe this is an act of the gods. We don't
Yes.
know which one. So everyone on the everyone on the ship, call out to your God and let's see who responds. Like, let's go ahead and make pleas to our gods,
Mhm.
and Jonah is like, it's my God. I serve
Right.
the one true and living God, and it is my God, and he has caused this weather pattern
Yes.
because I'm in disobedience. And furthermore, if you would like to stop it, then throw me overboard. Now,
Wow.
I know we are so old now that we think that that is a child's fable. That is a fact of history.
Yeah.
That is something that really happened. And I think
That's right.
because we have animated it in so many different ways, because we have had people dramatize it, we think that that didn't happen. No, that really happened. And as soon as the men who were like, oh, no, we don't want to throw you overboard. And he's like, you got to do it. If you don't, then you will all perish. Right. And as soon as they throw him overboard, all of the weather, this great tempest, it ceases. And I think of that when I think of what we see happening in the earth. We are so quick to dismiss God or to find him irrelevant in the things that we've been able to scientifically answer. And I think we do that to our own peril. And so I've been really grieved reading some of these stories, and even in my heart, praying for the families of the stories that have, and not to minimize it, but like come across my desk, even down to people like, the range of it, people being without power to the worst, the loss of life. And some of the stories are so devastating just up along, the southeastern part of our country. I'm thinking of Helene here. I don't know. Well, I do know. And that's why I'm bringing it up. We need to humble ourselves before the Lord.
Yes.
And I know that people will hear me say that and they will wonder, what school of weather did I graduate from? And what meteorology report am I reading? But what I do say, not to claim to be a weather expert, but I do know the Lord God of heaven.
That's right.
And I know what he has revealed of himself. And I don't think that we can continue to trample or tread on his goodness and then think that we do that with impunity.
I mean, just think about Jesus. He's on the boat, or Jesus walking on the water.
Yes.
Jesus rebuking the wind and the waves. So if he's able to say, peace, be still, and they obey. Okay. So when we're looking at these weather patterns and things like that, who's the God over that? It's our God.
Yeah.
He's the same. And so I think we as Christians, man, we cannot continue to just take on the mindset of the world.
Yeah.
Even as it concerns weather and hurricanes and tornadoes and things like that. We have to understand that when we step back and we look at the sin that is so prevalent within this country, let's just say United States of America, why would God not use those things to wake us up?
Yeah.
To say, hey, people, I'm in control. You can repent.
Yeah.
Turn from your wicked ways. And so I think the weather is just another way that God uses to get the attention of the people if we will listen, if we will not be, undiscerning or not discerning, because those things are controlled by God.
Yeah, absolutely. And that doesn't change because we now can predict things. It doesn't change because we have,
technology and
barometers and all of these things that can, whatever, that doesn't change. And with all of our knowledge, you would think that it would cause us to seek God, because we would say, whoa, this is crazy. Look at what is happening. But it doesn't. It just creates greater hubris that we, have this kind of largesse about us that I think is very sad. So anyway.
Just one more point. I'm thinking about Solomon when he was dedicating the temple. His prayer. One part of the prayer was like, God, when you close the heaven and there's no more rain, and your people turn to you and pray and seek your face, open up the heavens. So they knew. They knew who was in control, and so I'm like, man, we as believers, we have to stick close to the scriptures.
Amen.
And see how they dealt with these things, and we should deal the same way.
Amen. I could not agree with you more. I wanted to just acknowledge that I feel like we on the Culture Proof podcast haven't really talked about the weather, which it sounds lighter than it is. How's the weather? But I think that weather has some spiritual implications right now. And I think we would do well to pay attention to that. I think also, looking at what's going on with Israel, I think spiritual implications there as well. And I'm okay with people calling me crazy. I'm okay with people seeing me as an old school Bible thumper. The Lord God is real, and he still reigns and rules from his throne. And I think he has told us who he is. He's revealed to us who he is. So we would do well to recall that and live according to that conviction. There's a great sobriety as it pertains to the knowledge of who God is, right? He's not our homeboy. So anyway, but having said all of that, can we turn to a news haul and look at some of these stories that you both sent me and that another one of our dear brothers sent to us. And when I received it, I was like, perfect for a Friday news haul. And so we can't pass up this week without talking about it. Because again, here we are. Before we get into one of the stories, let's kind of work our way through, because I do have what I feel like is the anchor story. Okay.
All right.
I'm not okay with it. I'm telling you my position up front before we get to our last story. I'm just not okay with it, but let's kind of work our way up. This story is crazy in and of itself. This woman in Washington, last week, she called 911 because she had some raccoons who had gathered outside of her home and were growing increasingly aggressive toward her. Now, you may just think, this is a case of like Pocahontas, and you've got, what was the name of her little raccoon? Oh my goodness.
I don't know.
Okay. I'm sorry. Why would I ask you?
Is this bottomless pit a friend of yours?
Miko.
Oh, the raccoon that was on the Incredibles too.
Oh,
that thing
this is probably more like that.
Yeah.
Okay, this is probably more like that. Let me read the story, and then I'll show you a little bit of video footage that came from USA Today in the article that I was reading. Okay, here we go. Sheriff's deputies in Washington's Kitsap County frequently get calls about animals, loose livestock, problem dogs, but the 911 call they received recently was from a woman being hounded by dozens of raccoons swarming her home near, and I'm going to butcher the name of this town, Poulsbo. Okay, here we go. The woman reported having had to flee her property after 50 to 100 raccoons descended upon it and were acting aggressively, said Kevin McCarty, a spokesperson for the sheriff's office. She told deputies she started feeding a family of raccoons decades ago. And it was fine until about 6 weeks earlier, when the number showing up went from a handful to around 100 raccoons. Okay. So, man, I feel like it's Miko. I feel like that raccoon is, and I can almost hear Pocahontas. Anyway, these raccoons turned out because this woman had been feeding them, bringing down that fear factor that animals have towards humans, and basically inviting them out to her property. And so they were like, going up to heaven, bringing all my folks. And so they showed up, and we have some video footage here that I think is crazy. We'll go ahead and just play it for you, because it's unbelievable to see. It's one thing to hear about dozens of raccoons just out on somebody's property, but it's something entirely different.
That sounds like a lot, though. Dozens of raccoons.
Describing raccoons as swarming.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Do you have a different thought about raccoons? I think of them as mean.
Yeah, I think of them as will attack you if you,
and scratch you and bite you. Like, I don't think of them as friendly, like chipper, like, I don't know. And maybe it's some of the animations that have really caused us to
like feel scared and like.
What are they called? Trash pandas.
Get out of there, you trash pandas.
Trash pandas. Like that's what they do. They dig around in garbage. All right, here we go. This is what it looks like, the scene outside of this woman's Washington State home. Here we go.
Oh my goodness.
I don't understand.
Oh, wow.
I don't understand.
Wow.
Nah, I'm out.
Oh, man. Some of them are like huge. Like, nah.
I don't know what I'm doing with the video footage. If people are watching over on YouTube, they're like, "What is she doing?" I don't know. I'm so,
You want it to be a
I was trying to
a
go
raccoon?
back.
It was like
No,
over your face. Like, what's going on here?
I was trying to go back,
To the shot we had before.
and I couldn't figure it out. Good thing we're not interviewing someone professional, like what you're going to hear on Monday,
Yeah.
Dr. Erwin Lutzer.
Yeah,
Oh,
imagine-
that would
imagine
be
that.
horrible.
Raccoon
That-
on his face.
What do you think about this, Dr. Lutzer? Anyway, so what's your takeaway from that
man,
story?
No. I mean, that's not much to say.
And
I
in
mean,
conclusion, don't feed the raccoons.
don't feed the raccoons. Like,
Yeah.
why would you do that? Like, man, but people feed all kind of like. I just no.
I don't understand it.
No. Like,
Yeah.
and you can only expect them to come and bring friends. Like that should have been expected. Maybe not. Maybe she felt like,
Oh, it's just these five, and I'm gonna go ahead and they're gonna be like my little friends.
Oh,
but
man.
those friends have friends.
Is it too much for me to say? I think that these raccoons are telling us a little bit about their cultural background. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, can my cousins come?
For real.
Hey, can we?
So
So,
Peanut, come,
Chris,
Ray, come on over. I'm know they got some.
I'm sorry. Listen, that's so wrong. But can I just say, it was hilarious to me. Well, this woman was not injured, although she said,
That's
when
good.
she was trying to get into her car,
Mm,
they would be like, run me my Cheez-Its.
mm.
I don't
Where the food
know
at?
Where is it?
Mm.
And
Why you
so they
leaving?
would get a little bit aggressive.
You're like, why
But
you
isn't
leaving?
it always like that? So you start off, you got this family. She probably
Right.
had this really chill family
Mhm.
where it was like ma, pa, and like baby squirrel, not squirrels, raccoons. Sorry, I was trying to. Sorry, I was trying to soften the story.
Yeah, that'd have been better.
But no, that's
But
you've
still
got.
wouldn't do that either.
Right, I wouldn't either. But probably started out with this nice little family
Right.
that would come around, and they probably all shared and everything.
Mhm.
And then it was probably the kids. I bet the kids went and told their friends, and then the friends went and told their parents.
Mm.
And then the parents were like, "What?
Oh yeah.
They're giving out hams like every night? And like we don't have to go dig in the garbage?" And so then they all showed up. And then what would
Oh, boy.
happen was that they felt entitled,
Mm.
right? And so then they feel entitled, and this
Mhm.
woman's trying to get in her car, and
She's like,
she
and they're
said
like,
that they would
no.
sometimes kind of like roll up on her.
Mhm. Where you going?
You ain't got to go to
We
work
come
yet, lady.
All this way for you to go drive somewhere? Like, no. What's
Lady,
the
you
food
ain't
at?
got to go to work. So anyway, so that's the story. But
Wow.
speaking of the raccoons, if we could just stay on the topic of potentially rabid animals,
Mm,
this story is out of Chicago.
okay.
That concert goers may have been exposed to rabies at a recent concert. Now, this just
Ooh.
kind of
Chicago.
unfortunately, like
Oh,
right,
but-
like I just
I mean, yeah, you could pronounce that.
it,
Like it's not like
like,
somewhere.
what are you
in,
doing?
oh,
But
wow.
it confirms everything that you thought about, certain types of concerts back in the day. Remember, people would say, "Be careful, some of them rock concerts." They're like, okay, I won't even go. But there's a little bit of lore about
Man.
some types of concerts. But anyway, here is the article.
Okay.
Concert goers at a popular live music venue may have been exposed to rabid bats.
Oh, we had an experience with bats one time.
Okay,
that
but
could
we
be
were not
scary.
at a concert.
No, we weren't at a concert.
and
But I'm saying
we didn't
like,
go looking for them.
They
Please
weren't looking for
explain.
them?
Well,
went-
you went to the concert.
What that
So can you
for
explain-
bats though? Come on.
There's some places you just shouldn't be. Okay,
Okay,
I feel like if maybe
They
they
were just going to a concert.
maybe they released the bats at the concert as a
Man.
part of their finale.
Mm.
You don't know. But can you explain our situation, because we were truly
We were looking for. No, we were in the parking.
we were in a
Garage or
parking
somewhere.
garage. We were truly minding our own business.
Yeah.
At the
and-
time, we had
Mhm.
I think 5 kids. Samwit was a baby at the time.
Okay. So yeah.
And so we
fine.
had a little baby,
Mhm.
and then the rest of our kids, and we were in this parking garage, and
Mhm.
then man,
And
it
bats
seemed
just
like out
start
of nowhere
flying around.
these bats just start.
Oh my goodness.
Man,
Yeah,
that was a little
Mm-mm.
bit frightening, because I'd like to say that I'm reasonable, but bats do kind of have a little legend about them, and I
See.
I don't know. I just
you believe in all that? No.
look,
But-
I didn't want to have to take you down because you got bit by one and turned on us. Like I just didn't want.
Like
Guys, run. Anyway, no, it was bad.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the fright. The thing about this story that really stood out to me
Mhm.
is that the public health officials, or this Chicago Department of Public Health, said that the people who attended this concert could have been bitten by these bats and not even known it because their teeth are so small. And so what they are advising,
Wow.
they're advising those who may have come in contact with the bats to go and get like some sort of antibody or serum or something that they will
Wow.
need in case they have contracted rabies from, is it contracted?
Yeah. Yeah.
Contracted.
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 Yes.
Yikes.
it.
That's why this show is late, guys. There's
Contracted.
a lot going on. Okay. That's why this
Contracted.
podcast is contracted with the bats. For
That
rabies.
too.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
So what they're saying in rabies, the exposure to rabies,
Mhm.
okay, from these animals could be undetected by the person who was bitten because of the size of the teeth.
Mm.
So some of them may not even realize that it was a bat that bit them.
Oh wow,
I
man.
don't understand. That's foreign to me.
That's foreign to me
right?
too. I thought if you got bitten by a bat,
Well,
you
here's
would,
the
like,
thing. I
kinda
think
know
that
it.
here's what I think may be a little bit confusing. So according to these health officials, it's those who are bitten or even scratched by the bats.
Mm.
So as they're swooping in, if they make contact
Ugh.
with you, then you may be at risk and you
Wow.
may need to go and get yourself
All right, Chicago.
checked out by
Wow.
a contractor. And also, and also just gotta stay away from, those concerts like that. Just,
Yeah.
go to worship services
Right.
and get your life. All right, let's wrap up. Here is the final story
Mm.
that I want to look at,
Mhm.
because I am aware that this week in California, in Los Angeles,
Of course.
Elon Musk unveiled this Optimus robot, the humanoid robot
Mm.
that
Here
he
we go.
expects to be in homes
And
by
what home?
2027.
And who's home? 2027. Who's home?
But
2
some are
years?
saying as early
Man, come
as
on,
the
man.
end of 2025. Okay.
Man,
If I could read the
go
article
ahead,
for
read the
you,
article,
and
'cause-
then
yes.
if I could read the article, and then I also have some footage to show that we
Mhm.
can discuss, we can take a look at this. We can be reasonable about this. Okay.
No, we can't. Who's home? They ain't gonna be in the
Run-on
Addison.
Okay.
In the Addison home.
You also said that about the cleaning vacuum.
I didn't say
thing.
that about that.
You were like, oh, you
I
said
said they might be taking our information and stuff like
you
that.
said that the iLife was probably collecting
it
information
probably,
on
It
us.
probably was.
And well, at any rate, we don't use it anymore.
The robot, like, okay, we got to play that beautiful beam footage.
Okay.
Let's
Okay.
see.
Well,
Because this is like, yeah.
it's a big deal. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's a big deal. I don't
Yeah.
think this is something to be
No.
taken lightly. I do have a little bit of, even though this is a lighter podcast episode, I think there are some spiritual implications to what we are trying to do with machines, and I think
I
in
agree.
some ways trying to manipulate, our limitations and take those limitations away. So anyway, I can talk a little bit about what I think, some of this might be down the line, but here is what it is today. All right.
Okay.
Elon Musk claimed this week that Tesla's humanoid robots will be the biggest product ever of its kind, sparking a lively debate over when and whether he'll manage to put a robot in every house. The walking, talking Optimus robots stole the show during a Thursday night event in Los Angeles to reveal the company's Cybercar, which is a self-driving taxi. Obviously, no one cares about that because we're talking about Optimus. All right, the nearly 6-foot-tall robots danced on stage to techno music, served up fruity drinks, played rock, paper, scissors, and held conversations with people.
Oh, wow.
Using expressions and okay, so we'll look at some of this. Anyway, Musk said that the bots can basically do anything you want, like mowing your lawn, cleaning the kitchen after dinner. Wait a minute. Okay,
You got
babysitting
kids
your
for that?
kids. Yeah, no, we're not. But yeah, no, we got kids for the kitchen, but you're not babysitting my kids.
No.
I'm so sorry. You're not okay. So, or just being a friend, and it will cost less than the price of your average car, ranging between $20,000 and $30,000 long term. He said. All right, let's play the clip. This is Elon Musk, and this is him presenting the robot and just talking about what this robot will do. Here we go.
With wheels. And we've made a lot of progress with Optimus. And as you can see, we started up with someone in a robot suit, sort of down, and then we've progressed dramatically year after year. So if you extrapolate this, you're really going to have something spectacular, something that anyone could own. So you could have your own personal R2-D2 C-3PO.
Look at
But
this.
fundamentally, at scale, the Optimus robot, you should be able to buy an Optimus robot for, I think, probably $20,000 to $30,000 long term. So, and what can it do? It'll basically do anything you want. So it can be a teacher, babysit your kids. It can walk your dog, mow your lawn,
No.
get the groceries, just be your friend, serve drinks, whatever you can think of, it will do. And yeah, it's going to be awesome. I think this will be
I don't know what I'm doing.
the biggest product ever of any kind. Yeah.
All right. Wow.
Because I think everyone, of the 8 billion people of Earth, I think everyone's going to want their Optimus buddy. And there's going to be maybe two. And then they'll be producing products and services. I predict, actually, provided we address risks of digital superintelligence, 80% probability of good, a good outcome. Look on the bright side. The cup is 80% full. The cost of products and services.
Wait, hold on. I just want to pause for a second there because he says 80% probability of good outcome, but then goes to talking about the price of the robot. So what's hanging out in the 20% that we're not discussing?
Right.
Like what is like what would be the bad outcome? Can I say what I think the bad outcome would be?
What do you think
And then
the
we
bad
can.
outcome would
I'll
be?
show you. Can I show you what I think
Okay.
the bad outcome will be? So we say 80% of possible good outcome. All right, and then here's what I think the 20% will be. Yep.
What am I? Can I help you, sir?
Yeah, that's what I think. Strangely enough,
Oh man.
strangely enough, can I just say that I think that the movie from back in the day, Will Smith's iRobot, is eerily similar to the design
It looks
of
like that.
Elon Musk's
He.
Optimus, right?
Wow.
So I have a problem with that. I think
Yeah.
there is something wrong with that. This idea that the robot is going to replace humans. I was reading an article about it, and those who work in like logistics say that there's still some kinks that have to be worked out with this robot. Some say it's going to take 5 years before it's just in homes. Others say maybe even a shorter time once you try it out in a warehouse, because the problems are the robot being able to navigate, different terrains, being able to navigate children and pets, like, kind of programming it for that. But again, when we talk about the robot being able to navigate these things, I need to hear expressions of what the pitfalls are. Like
Right.
what are the drawbacks? Like, so if the robot does not effectively navigate a pet, what is it doing with it? Like, is it accidentally stepping on it? Is it mistaking it for an intruder? Like, does it have a point of reference for children,
Yeah.
as important humans, or like a nuisance? Like, I don't know. Because again, what we are relying on is we're relying on a pre-programmed machine that is supposedly learning as it goes
Wow.
and improving over time, which is exactly the plot of iRobot. The science
It's
fiction has
crazy.
come to life.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how technology works now, like your
Yes.
phone, or just software, and there are kinks and there are bugs and there's glitches and things. So you're talking about something that's going to be this intrusive, that will be in your home,
Yeah.
wigging out one day
Oh my
and
goodness.
saying like, being malfunctioning, or I mean, no, look, I know
Yeah.
it's gonna be everywhere because that's
Mhm.
the way things
Oh, that's how we
always
are. Yeah.
that's how we are.
Yeah. It's going to be
Man,
everywhere.
but looking at it from this standpoint right now, I'm like,
Yeah.
just don't trust that.
It'll start out that very few of us will want anything to do with it.
Yeah,
We will believe that it's going to overtake us. And so we will avoid it.
right.
But then the convenience of it will be so overwhelming. We'll get a few neighbors who get,
Oh, there'll
get
be some
some of them.
testimonials.
You
Oh man,
understand?
I got one, and man,
And it has changed my life. I don't have to do anything. Like I can just totally disconnect from the world. And then it'll start to grow. And people will be, oh, it's just like getting a car. It's just,
Mhm.
it picks up the groceries. It does all of these things. And then we'll believe that we're in the age of the Jetsons. Although I will say, maybe there was a time that Rosie attacked the Jetsons, but for the most part, I mean, she was a good bot,
Right,
So that's not where we are. I don't know. My ultimate thing is not so much the robot and its design,
Mhm.
but I believe that where people like Elon Musk, and we've talked about this before, I believe that where people like Elon Musk ultimately want to go is they really do want to mesh together
Mm,
the digital, the computer with the human.
yeah.
And so I think that he keeps trying to get as close to that as possible to normalize that. And I think it's man's bid at immortality.
Mm,
Like, just I don't want to have to think about death. Is there a way for us to, to beat the human limitations that we have? And I think that's what he's doing. I think that's what he's experimenting with. And again, not to be old Bible thumper, but I do think back to the Bible's account of the days of Noah.
mm,
And I think about, as you read through chronologically and you read about, the sons of God coming down and having relations with the daughters of men.
mhm.
And then there were the Nephilim in the earth. And so there was
Mm.
something that was off,
Yeah.
something was not right. And, the Lord did not strive with us regarding that. He basically balled up the world
Right.
and started again with 8 people.
Right.
Again, that's a fact.
Mhm.
Okay. I know it sounds like, isn't that a wall decoration? No, that's a fact of history. That is something that actually happened.
Mm.
And which, by the way, it's crazy to me that there are very educated people who do not believe in the fact of the flood that happened during Noah's day.
Yeah.
But again, my point is this: the Bible tells us that in the last days, it'll be just like it was in the days of Noah, that they will be living and going on and doing all of these things.
Yeah.
But I think in addition to that, the days of Noah saw widespread wickedness, evil, sin, kind of a break in like the human genome. And anyway, I know, put it in a future podcast, right? I am not a tinfoil hat wearer, but I do read the scriptures. And when I see what people are trying to do, I try to filter those things through a biblical lens and ask spiritual questions. What is man's ultimate aim?
Yeah.
Where does he want to go? Follow up story
Wow.
to that. You sent me this story because at the same time that we are talking about Elon Musk's Optimus, Elon Musk's Optimus humanoid, we have some new information out that says Gen Z and Gen Y, these are the people among us in their 20s and 30s now, early 30s, they actually prefer artificial intelligence to the support animals that we've been talking about
Mm.
previously.
Mhm.
So now what we see an uptick in is conversations with ChatGPT, using these sort of like, bots as companions and having them fill their lives. And so I don't know that maybe that's a coincidence that it's in the news in the same week. I don't think so.
Right.
But we're talking about creating a robot that's going to
Right.
be like humans.
Yeah.
And then also humans now preferring robots as emotional support entities.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do
Yeah.
you even call that? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Friends.
Yeah, that's it. Using the robots
AI
as
friends.
friends. Yeah, using the
Yeah.
robots as friends. I don't know. Look, I do try to resist some of the things that I feel like are just a bridge too far.
Mhm.
I will say this, just in like, being transparent. I can see how the technology starts to weigh us down, or wear us down, I should say. I'm thinking back to the different changes that the iPhone went through.
Mhm.
And I remember when it first started doing the, fingerprint, and when it started doing the face recognition and open your phone, unlock your phone. It was my younger sister who had that latest version. And I was finding my phone still having the little, what our kids call belly button, and all this. And her unlocking her phone with her face. And I remember being like, I will never, oh my goodness, and I probably prayed down heaven, how demonic, I rebuke that, using your face. And now, I mean, I'm doing that. And our kids said to me recently, I think it was JD,
Mom, remember when you said that unlocking the phone with your face?
this was like, so I'd like to say that I would not have an Optimus in my home.
You won't.
Okay.
Okay.
You just hold me to it. just make sure that we understand it's not something that we need, because it could go south really fast. Just ask Will Smith. And by the way, this time it's not like the sci-fi thriller iRobot, because we have canceled Will Smith. So he's not coming to help us.
Can't save the day.
He's not stepping in to tell all the cops stand down, because he's got business with this robot. It's going to be each and every one of us. Can you see Timmy pulling one down, wrestling? Get it,
Yes.
Timmy.
I can see that, really.
Me too. All right.
On his head.
Little baby. Anyways, that's it. That's all we have for you. There's a lot going on in the world, by the way.
Yeah.
That's all we have for you. That is not all there is going on in the world, but hopefully that makes you laugh, as it makes us laugh just a little bit, with a little bit of sobriety. We'll talk about it. First person to get one of these Optimus robots, message us, let us
I
know.
don't want to hear about it if you get one.
Blink twice if you're in distress. All right. When you resist, when we all resist those cultural trends that rival the truth, we remain culture proof. Until next time, Lord willing.
God bless.